Welcome back to the Sights On podcast with Luchiano and Alex. Welcome on, Mason.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen. Glad to be here.
Yeah, Mason is a friend of Alex, and we just wanted to welcome him on. So, Mason, why did you decide to come on the podcast?
Well, I've been a huge supporter of you guys since the beginning. Alex and I have had a personal friendship for a number of years now, and I remember back to you telling me, man, one of my life goals is to be a podcaster. I'm like, that would be so cool. And here you guys are doing it. You've been doing it for a while, and seen from a distance how the podcast has grown and the studio's gotten bigger. And Alex invited me on. I said, I'd be honored to come and join and be on the podcast and have a cool conversation with you guys. So good to be here.
Yeah, thank you again, Mason, for coming on. How I knew Mason was I went to a small group when I first started becoming a follower of Christ, and I met Mason at a small group, and I don't know, I just really thought like he was well spoken, and I just liked his personality. So then I hit him a text message from a group chat I'd gotten his number, and I was like, hey, do you want to get coffee? And we still get coffee now once a month, and we just talk about life and whatever's going on, and he helps me and I help him. And I just was like, since he's been a supporter for so long, I was like, Mason, like, you got to come on eventually. Yeah. We've been talking about it for a while, and he was finally free this week, so I was like, he came on.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. So what church do you go to right now?
We go to Milestone Church.
Milestone. And have you been there for like ever or recently just
Milestone is a church I've been going to since I moved here to Texas.
Oh, wow.
So I've been here 3 years now.
3 years?
And when I moved here, I only knew one person in all of DFW. It was a coworker of mine at the time of the company I was working with.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, you should come to my church. And I said, okay, sounds good. I'll come to your church. And I'm getting in the car at 8:40 in the morning. Service starts at 9. And he sends me a text and says, hey, I still want you to come check out my church. But I just felt called to tell you should check out Milestone Church because they have a really strong young adult community.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I'm going to take that as a sign and let me plug that into the Google and see what they have. And I'm like, come to find out they have a 9:15 service, put in the GPS and drove over there and said, all right, I'm going to check it out. And then I'll come swing by your church another time. Appreciate it. And walked into Milestone and sat down next to a stranger who got me connected with a young adult pastor.
Wow.
Turns out they had a service that night. Met the pastor there. They got me in a small group the next day, and the rest is history. So Milestone has been the place for me since I moved here to Texas.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been there once, actually, for Alex's baptism, and it was amazing. Like, the people there were so welcoming. Saw him on that big, like, stage at the top where he got dropped into the water. And, yeah, the praise and worship was amazing there.
They do it well. Yeah, their worship is really excellent. They do their own recorded now. It's pretty top-notch. Hard to come out with a bad worship experience there at Milestone.
Yeah, and just like he said, the people there are just super friendly. That's one of their main things. I always say it's like a great church for new beginners or new people or even people who are looking to find Christ at all.
Yeah, definitely. What I appreciate about Milestone is they're really good. I've been to many churches, moved many times. They're really good at connections with people.
Yep.
Especially given the size of the church. It's for people listening, it's probably a lot bigger church than what most people are used to, very sizable. And they're really good at connecting with people. It doesn't matter if you've been there one time, been there many times. Mm-hmm. And because of the size, I always see people I know, but I'm meeting new people all the time. So, yeah it's been a great place for me to be the last 3 years.
Yeah. I love that when you get to meet new people every day. That's just like, man, amazing. Because one of my goals is just to meet one person every day. And I've been doing that for the past, 465 days since this podcast started, because we both challenge each other to do that. And we had an episode on that, but meeting one person a day just opens your mind to new perspectives, and I found that very challenging but rewarding in the end because I get to know other things. So
that's cool.
I'm meeting you today.
That's great to meet you.
That's one more thing. So I want to center in, like you said, you move around a lot, and that ties into your job. So I just want to open up the conversation. Like, what do you do, and how old are you, and how did you get to that position at such a young age?
Yeah, I'm 26 years old. I'm currently a pilot for a major airline here in the United States.
Yeah.
To bring it back, I was born in Bakersfield, California.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I lived there for the first 3 years of my life. If you've ever been there, it's the kind of place where people are stuck there for generations.
Yeah.
And thankfully, my father, who'd been there his whole life, at some point said, you know what, I want something new for my family. Been living out here in the desert in Central Valley, California, let's go somewhere new where there's trees and wildlife and mountains and see if we can raise the kids in a different environment. I'm the firstborn, oldest of three.
Wow.
So when I was 3 years old, we moved out of there to Washington State, Vancouver, right on the border of Oregon. Lived there for 9 years, and then moved to a small town, Gig Harbor, Washington, where I spent the rest of my childhood. If you've ever seen the Tacoma Narrows Bridge
Okay.
in Gig Harbor, it looks like the Golden Gate Bridge, but it's green, and there's two of them.
Green and
There's
two
a
of them.
there's a famous video back in the day where the original one actually collapsed. They call it Galloping Gertie. It's worth a watch. Well, if you see that bridge, that's what connects Tacoma to Gig Harbor.
Okay.
And it's just about an hour outside of Seattle. As far as flying goes, I grew up with a couple neighbors of mine who were and still are FedEx pilots, ex-Navy, flew F-14 Tomcats.
Wow.
You know, these are really, really cool dudes.
Yeah.
And for 4th of July, we would go out and we would ride bikes on the taxiways of the small municipal airport,
Yeah.
you know, having a barbecue in the hangar. And even though I was never a pilot, nobody in my family was a pilot, I was still somewhat exposed to the industry. And every time I'd go over to their house or hang out with these guys, because we were friends with their kids, I always kind of walked away thinking like, wow, like when those guys aren't flying for a living, they're flying for fun.
Yeah, they're flying for
Yeah.
fun.
Like they're doing their job when they're not getting paid for it. That's so
Yeah.
unique. And as a young kid, that left an impact on me because most jobs that I knew and most of my friends' dads, they would go do their job and they'd come home and they want nothing to do with their job, right?
Wow.
That's
Yeah,
typically like
that's
the
typical.
9 to 5 corporate environment. So like there's something different there. And they'd be telling stories of going to Germany and what they're doing on layovers.
Wow. Yeah.
Like this kind of seems like a lifestyle. So I didn't have like the skies didn't part and it wasn't like, okay, this is the one job for me, but it was something that I seriously looked at. And I knew enough to know that I never wanted to have a 9 to 5. I'm pretty adventurous, somewhat nomadic. I wanted to have something that would look different every day. So I thought about becoming maybe a police officer or maybe being an emergency room doctor or surgeon.
Yeah.
And fortunately, with the civilian pilot track, is you can actually learn to fly at a very young age. You can solo an airplane at 16 years old.
Oh, really?
So
Wow.
you can get your driver's license and be flying an airplane by yourself at the same time, which is pretty darn cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
So that's what I ended up doing and did that in high school. Started flying at 16, did my first solo 9 hours in.
Wow.
And then got my my private pilot certificate as the first rating that you would get in the process.
Yeah.
You can take that check ride, we call it. That's your final exam. You can take that at 17. So the month I turned 17, I passed the check ride. Now I had a little bit of exposure. I said, you know what, this is pretty cool. I've actually started the journey. I think I'd like to get paid to do this.
Yeah.
Instead of paying
Amazing.
to do it like I was at the time. So that's what got me on the journey into flying.
So you started at such an early age. That's like you started early so you could get that privates. And how many hours would you say you had that first year?
I had 40 hours and change, 41 hours
41
when I
hours?
took the check ride.
Wow.
Right. Yep,
That's
that's what I had. And then I continued to fly for fun for the rest of high school.
Yeah.
Just taking family up, taking friends up, flying over canals, flying around Mount Rainier,
Yeah.
which is, one of the biggest volcanoes in the world right there in Washington State.
Wow.
And decided, what's my next step going to be? I knew I wanted a degree. I need to get the rest of my ratings. We call them ratings. Those are your certificates. So I needed to get an instrument pilot. It's how you learn how to fly in the clouds and reliance on your instruments.
Like the air, yeah.
Right. So you can do a takeoff and landing in almost 0-0 conditions, depending on the airplane. Your commercial pilot, which is more advanced maneuvers. And then you get a multi-engine rating. Most people will become a CFI, a certified flight instructor. And once you get the CFI, you'll turn it right around and start teaching the next
other
generation.
people. Yeah.
So it's a little unique because in most industries, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
You don't have the new guys teaching the even newer guys. You have the most experience. But this is just how the industry works because most people, they don't want to teach in small planes. They want to fly big jets.
Big jets.
We call it shiny jet syndrome. So most people want to get on and get to the jets as soon as possible. And that's how I built the majority of my hours was flight instructing.
Flight instructing. Because you can get hours while instructing others, and that's how you build up.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Wow.
So I went to school, Central Washington University, got my degree. It's a aeronautical science degree. We call it professional pilot. And really what it is pretty much a check in the box. But a lot of airlines like to see that you have a degree. Some of them still require it.
Wow.
They're looking for somebody that's committed to a long-term process, somebody that's a little bit more well-rounded. You get that from
Nuanced,
being in
yeah.
a college environment. But being in Washington State, when you're flying small airplanes that are heavily impacted by weather conditions, most of the time you can't fly in the clouds
Yeah.
Yeah,
because
I
the
was gonna say
temperature.
Washington's full of like, it's a rainy
Clouds, yeah.
season a lot
It
there.
is. It is. The temperature is so cold. People don't often know when you take an airplane and you fly it in the clouds, the air gets cold really quick up at altitude. The airplane will accumulate ice on the airframe, and that can
Yeah.
actually take
Oh
an
wow.
airplane down.
Wow.
Large airplanes, jets have anti-ice systems to mitigate this, but small piston airplanes, your Cessna 172 that most people would
Yeah.
fly in, they don't have any anti-ice protection. So generally, if you're in a cold state like Washington and the clouds are up, you're not flying unless they're really high up. So I knew I needed a place to go build some time, a place to teach, that have some better weather.
Better weather, yeah.
So I looked at Phoenix, I looked at Sacramento, ended up getting 3 offers in Sacramento at a
Oh,
school there. I had family there at the time, so I was
yeah.
able to go live there, pay off student loans,
Yeah.
and save money where I could. And you almost don't check the weather. At least you don't check it in the
'Cause it's
morning.
all, yeah.
You just know the weather's going to be
Perfect.
great. So it's
Yeah.
a really nice place for me to train and build flight hours.
Yeah. I actually did my flight training. I have 15 hours, and I did it in Bakersfield.
You did
Yeah.
Bakersfield.
I know everything like in that area. I did it. Do you know what the California Aeronautical University?
I do.
Yeah, I did it there, and we just flew into Bakersfield, and they had a camp, and we stayed in those dorm rooms, and every morning we would go out and fly in the fields, and then there's the mountains. What are those mountains
Sierra
called?
Nevadas.
Yeah, Sierra Nevada mountains, and then we could see all the plains and all the crops and everything, and I just remember going up. It was super hot, like 115-degree day in the summer of July. When you go up, it's amazing. It's like 70s because it just every 1,000 feet, it's like 2 degrees Celsius lower. And I'm like, wow. I almost wanted to become a pilot right there and then. But I was like, I've already commuted so much in the medical field. I don't want to go back
Yeah.
and change it. But I had that same feeling that you had. Like, it was so amazing being up in the clouds. And I wanted to do that. Just, I don't think I could have committed my career, and I wanted to keep it as a hobby. That's just where I was coming
Right.
from.
Right. And if you can have a career that you can afford it as a hobby, that's a great place
Yeah,
to be
that too.
So are you from California? Have you spent time there?
I actually have family there. I go there often. That we have in San Jose, but this program was through the government, where they had like a high school's junior thing where they wanted to get recruits for for the Air Force. And I signed up for it. I was like, maybe I could get a shot. I mean, why not? I'd like to serve my country someday. And then got in, and I was like, wow. Went to that place, and it was super hot. I mean, I I do say that I do want to go in someday, but it just never happens.
It'll happen.
Yeah.
Down the road, give it time, you'll be there. I'll
Yeah.
remember. I'll remember you said this. I highly recommend it. The barriers to entry are very high. That's the hard part. It's not cheap. It's not like going and playing 18 holes on the golf course
Yeah,
and calling it a hobby.
for sure.
It's going to cost thousands of dollars, but when you get a private pilot's license, you can't walk away from that experience unchanged. You're going to learn so many new things. You get an introduction to meteorology, human psychology.
Yeah.
You know a little bit about the engine and how it works. You get a whole exposure to some things that are going to give you a broader depth of knowledge and a wider lens view of your life.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to walk away and not grow from that kind of experience. So
Yeah.
if you get some money, a little bit of time down the road, highly recommend wrapping up that private pilot's license. Good on ya.
I definitely do want to do that. So how does it feel like being a pilot for a major airline company? Like, you're a nomadic person, and in like from your 20s onward, how does that affect the rest of your life? Like, are you always on call to go on a flight, or do you like, what's your schedule like?
And anybody that's in the airline industry will tell you seniority is everything. We're on a seniority system. The day you get hired, you're the bottom of the barrel, the most junior guy.
Yeah.
And in aviation and the airline industry, it's unique because we have a mandatory retirement. Your 65th birthday, congratulations,
Really?
you are retired.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Wow.
For medical reasons. It used to be actually 60. When you turn 60, you're forced into retirement because you're no longer able to hold a medical. And then there was, for for a number of reasons, they ended up changing that to 65 years old.
Wow.
So the guy that got hired really young, really early, the day he turns 65, the goal is that you will retire number one. Your seniority is number one. And if
Yeah.
you can do that, you can choose the best trips. You can drop trips, trade. And it's not just the trip schedules, it's also your vacation. It's
Yeah.
also training schedules. It determines your upgrade. When you move from first officer to captain, we call that upgrade. It's not just a fancy term. That's determined by seniority. And also the aircraft that you fly. If you work for a company that has narrow bodies and wide bodies, most people want to fly a wide body. You're flying longer trips, exotic destinations. It's a higher pay rate. And if you have the higher seniority, you'll be able to move to the wide body. So everything works on the seniority system. The key is, if able, you want to get in early, as young as you can.
Wow.
It doesn't matter if you do a second career at 40 and you're able to knock out your ratings really quick, you're able to build time and you do it faster than anybody.
Yeah.
But because of your age, your seniority on your 61st birthday may not be all that good.
Yeah.
So if you may retire, if you have 15,000 pilots in your company, if you get hired at 40, you may retire seniority number 7,500.
Wow.
You hit the 50% mark. You never made it into the top 50 percentile of the pilots. So getting in early if you can is the key to it. And it's difficult because aviation is cyclical.
Yeah.
It's not something that you can, it's not consistent. Not everybody has the same opportunity. I'm very fortunate, knock on wood, that the industry has treated me fairly well, that I was able to get in at a really young age.
Right.
But there's been times such as 9/11, most airlines didn't hire for 10 years following 9/11.
Wow.
Really?
And then you had the '08 crash come in after that, and demand for tickets dropped dramatically. So what happens in that case, to survive, airlines will start furloughing employees. So I always joke, airlines will hire until furlough. So they'll hire, bring on hundreds, maybe even thousands of pilots a year, and all of a sudden they could furlough 3,000, 4,000 pilots. And that happens. Every decade or so that happens. So far the industry's treated me really well, and I hope it remains.
Yeah.
But getting in early and building seniority will save you from that furlough.
So when did you get into the major airlines? You're 26 now. So what year or what age were you when you got into
I
the
was
major?
24. So next month I hit my 2-year anniversary with my company, and I'm on the 737, which for us is a really fun airplane. I really enjoy it. What I did before is I worked for a regional airline flying a Bombardier CRJ, the 200, 700, 900 models. And that was good flying too. And I really enjoyed it, but there's not a lot of variety to it. You're flying 5, sometimes even 6 legs a day. You're talking flights as short as 12 minutes, rarely longer than 1 hour. So it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Get into the mainline side, we'll fly 1, 2, occasionally 3 legs a day, but the legs are much, much longer. The workload's a little bit less. It's more enjoyable.
Yeah.
The destinations are better. In my airplane, we fly to over 40 countries on this airplane. So there's a lot of variety.
Wow.
And I enjoy that too, because you get to spend time. This next trip I'm going to El Salvador, going to Jamaica. We fly to South America on the 737. So there's a lot of new cool things you get to do when you're flying regional that you never got to do.
Yeah.
And I assume you have layovers too, so you get to tour some countries that you have.
We do. Yeah. On my airplane, the layovers are pretty rarely longer than 24 hours.
Yep.
But if you're quick, you can do a lot in 24 hours.
Yeah.
So I'm a big hiker. Hiking's my thing. And living here in Texas, you guys know hiking's not really a thing around here.
Not this part.
So if I can do that while I'm working, so my favorite hiking spots, I always try to get Montana if I can. Kalispell, Bozeman, Missoula.
Yeah.
But especially down south, San Jose, Costa Rica, Guatemala City, Bogota, Colombia, Medellin, Colombia. Those are some of the places that I really try to pick up because the hiking is right there. I mean, it's so close. You land, you're in the hotel, you're a 20-minute drive to a mountain that could be over 10,000 feet tall.
Yeah.
And it's hard to beat. So being able to stay active like that too makes the time go by faster. When you're on the road, some of the challenges is you're having to balance a professional work life and being in work mode, and also your personal life too. So you're going on a trip and you're gone for 4 days. It can be hard to adjust back into personal life and jump right back into family and friends and church and whatever else you have going on. Being able to do something fun, go on a little road trip, experience some culture, go on a hike, I find really breaks up the the monotony
Yeah.
of work and kind of get out of that the work mindset. Because you are
Sure,
a
yeah.
lot more, at least I am, you're much more serious when you're on the road. You're dealing
Yeah.
with, higher consequences, high stakes. I wouldn't consider it a stressful job for the most
For
part.
sure, yeah.
We work
Mhm.
really hard to make sure it's not stressful, but sometimes, aviation happens to you and there's nothing you can do.
Mhm.
But being able to do something fun and have some laughs, make some memories, kind of breaks up the flow of being on the road for several days in a row.
Yeah. You mentioned family. I'd like to get into that perspective. So you're probably away like how many days per week? I'd like to ask you that. And then how does that affect like your relationships, or if you're even in one right now? And then if you were to have kids, what would you do then?
Yeah, usually I will fly 4 days a week, probably on average. At my company, trips are 1 to 5 days. Every month is totally different, and with seniority, you can tailor your schedule to what you like. So, for example, next month I was able to drop most of my trips. I leave for a 4 day trip tomorrow, and then I have what we call turns. So it's a day trip. It's an out and back. I have
Okay.
6 day trips, and then I'll probably
Okay.
pick up some other trips in there too. But if you were to average it out, probably comes out to 4 days a week.
4 days a
And I
week.
work a little bit more than probably most people. Some people will do 3 days a week. People who fly a wide body will sometimes fly 2 days a week if
2
you
days a
were to
week.
average it out, because their trips are much longer.
Longer
They're doing
trips,
15,
yeah.
16-hour flights, going to Shanghai, Seoul, Auckland, Sydney. Those are long flights.
Which one do you like better?
Well, I haven't flown to any of those.
You
You're
haven't done
talking
those
wide
yet?
body versus
Okay.
narrow body. The goal is certainly to go wide body,
Wide body.
no
Okay.
doubt. Simply because it's harder on your body, certainly.
Yeah.
But the flying is easier.
Yeah.
Because you're at cruise. It's all the thing that makes a job challenging is being in high areas of vulnerability, the high workload, takeoff and landing, and taxi.
Yeah.
So working at a regional operator, where you're doing 5-6 legs a day, it's a lot of work. Even though the flights are very short, and your total flight time in a given workday is going to be considerably less. It's just much more work because that's where all the work happens.
Managing
Is
the
taxi,
ATC.
takeoff, and landing. As far as those cities, since I fly narrow body, I haven't been to any of those for work, but I've been to Korea.
Wow.
Personally, I've been to many countries. So this year, I'm committing one of my side quests is I'm flying to as many countries as I can to see the world outside of work. So far, year to date, I've been to 29 countries,
Wow.
with the original goal of going to 40 countries. But now I'm ahead of schedule, so I'm thinking about upping it to 50 countries.
And you're
Right.
flying yourself to those countries.
Yes, I'm flying in the back watching movies.
Oh, flying in the back.
No, I'm not
Okay,
flying
okay.
myself. This is outside of work.
Outside of work.
One of the benefits
Yeah.
is you get to fly standby on most airlines around the world.
Yeah.
For very little cost. Usually you'll pay taxes and fees on the cost of the ticket. So it's relatively negligible compared to what you would normally pay for the ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And being such a great benefit, I'm taking advantage of it while I can, because it's
Sure.
incredible getting to see the world.
What have your favorite countries been so far, since you've been to 29 of them already?
My favorite, I have several favorites for different reasons. My all-time favorite is probably Jordan.
Jordan.
Jordan, which I didn't expect to like as much as I did. That was part of a trip where I circumnavigated the globe. So that particular trip, I flew to Italy, Egypt, Jordan, Qatar, India, and Japan, and looped back around. Took off east and kept going east, picking my way across until I found my way back to the United States, never knowing where I was going to go the next day or where I was going to sleep that night. Because every flight is based off of the loads. If you fly
Availability.
standby, you can only get on the flight if there's an open seat.
Yeah. Wow.
And things change
yeah.
quick, right? Sometimes you get there thinking there's going to be a seat for you, and then there's no seat, and now you're flying to a new part of the world that you weren't planning on flying to.
Yeah.
But Jordan is one of those countries we don't really talk about. Probably most people couldn't even place it on a map, but it is beautiful, incredible country. For the Middle East, the people are probably some of the nicest. It's a third world country.
It is.
But they have Petra there for people that are travelers. If you're into checking boxes like I am, I'm doing all the 7 wonders this year. I've done 5 so far, and Petra is one of them. That's where they have.
It's like that giant ruin, right? That's kind of in the side of a. Am I right? Like
You're
it's
exactly right.
It's hard to describe, but it's like this super ancient with pillars, and it's super cool. I mean, I maybe we'll put a picture up on screen one day when we post this. But am I right?
You're totally right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're tombs. The
Yeah.
2 tombs that people typically see are the monastery and the treasury. So one's at the beginning of the park and one is at the other end of the park. You have
Oh.
to hike to it. And
Yeah.
I didn't know, but there's actually over 2,000 tombs in the entire park. It's not just those
Oh.
two. And you can go inside them and check them out. And you can hike for miles and miles and miles
Yeah.
all across the border. One of the guys in the hostel that I stayed at for that trip had hiked pretty much from Damascus, Syria, all the way down,
Wow.
Oh my
which is a
gosh,
couple
that's
hundred
crazy.
miles. And
That
he'd been
is
backpacking
long.
for a couple
Yeah.
weeks. But it's so remote out there that you can do that. And Jordan has some really incredible canyons
Yeah.
that you can go drive. And of course, they have the Dead Sea, which
Yeah.
is one of
Yeah.
my bucket list items. Was going to swim in the Dead Sea
You float.
and float. Yeah, it was really cool. I didn't expect to be getting out so quick
Yeah.
because the salt concentration is so high. Obviously, if you have any sort of cuts on you that you're
Yeah.
not even aware, you're
Oh.
gonna know really quick,
Word.
and they'll burn. Even your nail beds will start to burn after a minute. But you can get in and you lie on your back and your
Yeah.
arms and your head and your legs are out of the water.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, really. Even if it is just for a minute, if you're like, all right, I got to get out of this thing because I'm burning here. It's a really cool experience. So Jordan, highly recommend if you're willing to go on a little bit of excursion and make your way out there. It's a beautiful, incredible country.
Man, you're making me wish that I
Yeah.
could be on standby with you,
That's
travel the
right.
globe. So I just imagine you in the airport. Do you just go to a random flight and like of your airline and say, "Hey, I'm a pilot, and can I get on standby?" And you show your badge, and that's it.
There's just
Or-
a little bit more to it. There's some, but you're not far. All I have to do is I have to list for the flight
Yeah.
online, and then I do exactly what you described. We have some resources. What you try to do is you check what the loads are, meaning
Yeah.
how many open seats are there, how many people are trying to get on the flight, and then I'm going to shoot for that flight. So if I
Wow.
see there's a flight to London, seats 300 people, and there's 290 confirmed tickets on it, and there's 12 standbys listed for it, I'm going to say, okay, what's my standby priority? Can I get a higher standby priority? I'll list for the flight. I'll walk up to the gate and identify myself as a standby traveler. And if they have a seat for me,
Wow.
then they'll say, here's your ticket, enjoy your flight. And when it works out, it's phenomenal. And other times it's, okay, that didn't work. Where am I going next? Where can I go? And you just have to adapt.
It's like a buffet.
Plan
super
A,
cool,
plan
though.
B, plan C. Yeah, lots of backup options.
Yeah, I'm not going to London today. I'm going to India. That's where I'm going.
Right. Sometimes it is like that. This last trip I did, I went to Seoul, Beijing, Bangkok, and Taipei. And when
Yeah.
I set off to do that trip, I had originally planned to circumnavigate the globe westbound, which is actually harder than eastbound because you're fighting against Earth's rotation.
No.
So it takes
Mm.
longer.
Oh.
And as a standby traveler, the airplanes are anytime you fly westbound, you need more gas on the airplane. It takes longer. So you need more gas. Gas equals weight. It's very, very heavy. Some of these airplanes will carry a couple 100,000 pounds of
100,000,
gas
yeah.
on board. So even though there may be open seats in the back, the airline doesn't make money on standby travelers.
Mhm.
So they'll take extra gas on board and they'll leave seats open because they needed the weight that you would normally
Interesting,
be
yeah.
for the gas.
And just
So it's harder. It's not just about having open seats. It's about having open seats and the aircraft has room in its operating weight to accommodate the weight of you in the seat. So a little bit more to it. So I took off for that trip, made it to Seoul,
Oh.
went to the DMZ, which is a really,
Super cool.
that
place.
was
Super
very
cool, yeah.
cool. Very, very cool. Eye-opening experience. Went to Beijing and had planned to go to Uzbekistan. Couldn't get on the Uzbekistan flight.
Yeah.
And because of that, I tried to go to Istanbul, Turkey.
Yep.
Couldn't get on that flight. So then I ended up going to Bangkok and just stayed in Asia and looped back around through San Francisco to get back to the States.
So how long do you stay in each country? Are you just there for the day, or are you staying there for a while so that you can enjoy the place? Or
It
What is it like?
depends on how big the country is and what my goals are.
Yeah.
Like I've done one-day trips. For example, like Luxembourg in Western Europe. It's a tiny
the
country.
big
In one day,
Oh.
you can see all the sites that
Yeah.
are there. And in other places, I'll do 3, even 4 days.
Oh.
So it just depends. And with work, usually I can get up to 2 weeks off in a row if I really want to try to finagle the schedule. It's hard to get much more time off than that without using vacation.
Yep.
So typically my trips will last about 10 days, and I'll try to hit as many countries as I can in that time frame.
Wow.
What are your like must-haves to bring on, like, since you're going on super long trips and going on, what are your must-haves that you got to bring along to make these trips like the best that they can be?
That's a good question. The must-haves are emergency battery pack, for your cell phone.
Yeah.
You got to have it. Two of them I bring, and that's your lifeline. Passport, I bring several copies, usually 4 copies. I'll put one in my shoe, one in
Wow.
my pants, one in my backpack, and then another copy in my wallet. Because that's your lifeline
Yeah, you
too.
need
Yeah.
that.
If you're
No.
in a foreign country. I always memorize the address and the phone number of the embassy of whatever country I'm in. And then
Perfect.
a universal phone charger is a must-have.
Yeah, the little blocks with
Yeah.
yeah.
Because people don't know. You go to, even in Europe, several different countries, the outlets in the walls are different shapes.
Yeah,
So
different
you can
shapes.
get one on Amazon, $10,
Yeah.
that will serve 4 or 5 different outlet types.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about it. So if you have all of those, you're gonna be in good shape.
Yeah. I think they're different current too. They're 240 over there, or they're 120 here. And then if you plug an appliance over from Europe into an outlet here, it doesn't work. But if you plug appliance over here to there, it will burn the appliance out because of the voltage.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, just having that different thing, you can mitigate that because your phone could actually die if you use the wrong charger as well. So
A lot goes into. Yeah, you don't want that to happen.
yeah. So going back to like family, you're traveling everywhere, right? So how does that affect your relationships in traveling?
Well, in terms of my the work travel,
Yeah.
there's I believe when it comes to a marriage specifically, I think there's a lot of value to having a job where you can actually leave and come back. I think there's a biological dynamic to that in the context of a marriage. I'm not married, but I look at the pilots who I respect tremendously, who are Christian and they're excellent leaders and they serve customers well. And there's somebody that I look at them and say, okay, that's who I want to be down the road. Great role model, and their marriages are excellent.
Okay.
And the message that they communicate is that the time away kind of makes the heart grow fonder. And I think there's the biological element to that. Is it's almost representative of how humans have lived for all of time, where the males in the clan would leave and they'd go on a hunt. They would gather
Okay.
and they wouldn't come home unless they had something to provide.
Yeah.
So when they come home, the ladies are holding down the fort. And when they come home, it's a big celebration. And there's
Yeah.
a lot of honor and pride in that. And flying an airplane for a few days is obviously not the same,
Mhm.
but I do think that it kind of makes something special when you come home. You go out, you sacrifice your time, you're working hard, you're flying through the night. It can be pretty demanding.
Yeah.
And when you come home from that, it's kind of special. Like, hey, I'm getting to see you again. Just like when when you leave like your dog. I'm not equating men and women to dogs, but it's different when you
Yeah.
just left the backyard versus when you come home after a few days. They're excited to see you. It's a similar dynamic. So I think there's a lot of merit to that, provided that it's a healthy marriage to begin with.
Yeah.
There's
for
a
sure.
lot of challenges too, and I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any woman out there that's like, oh yeah, I would just love for my husband to be gone
Very
all
good.
the time.
Yeah.
Not in a healthy marriage, at least, right? So there you have to manage expectations, and ideally you find a wife that is understanding of what the lifestyle is going to look like, and
Right.
that's where usually pilots get into issues. The divorce rate is very, very high in the industry.
Oh.
A lot of pilots have been married multiple times, and a lot of it comes. There's a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is just a lack of understanding what the life's going to look like.
Yeah.
And people aren't thinking like, okay, if somebody's a wife, she's not thinking, well, my husband's going to be on call and we have a newborn baby and a 3-year-old running around, and I'm banking on him to help me out here because I'm underwater with
Yeah.
everything going on. And all of a sudden he gets the call, he's got to leave in 30 minutes and he's going to be gone for 5 days.
Wow.
That can
Yeah.
that can wear on you too if you marry somebody who is not understanding
Understanding
of
of
the
that.
challenges of the schedule. Because you do have, if you're a wife married to a pilot, you have to share your husband with the airline. That's the reality, and many people don't want that, and that's totally understandable. But if they don't want that, they definitely shouldn't marry an airline pilot.
That's crazy though. That's crazy life. When you think about that, like, so how do you expect to like go into that? Is that like a main? That's I guess probably your main goal is when you're looking for a relationship and you tell them, well, hey, I am an airline pilot, and as I'm assuming you go down the line in a relationship, you're going to have to be like, this is how things are going to have to work for this relationship to be able to work in the future.
Definitely. I'm usually try not to mention it right away. Roll into it.
I'm a pilot.
Right. Yeah.
You gotta
that's-
get on this.
Some people that's their that's their go-to. your card, and I try to hold that, and like,
Yeah.
let's get to know each other. Make sure you actually like me first, and I'll tell people I'm a bus driver first, and then if she's still talking to me after saying I'm a bus driver, then okay, maybe we can go out again. I'm a huge believer in managing expectations. So just being understanding and clearly communicating what the job actually looks like. Because some people try to oversell it, and they'll say,
Mhm.
yeah, my job's awesome. I'm having layovers in Grand Cayman Islands, and then I'm doing this and that, and I'm staying here at this all-inclusive
Yeah.
resort, which those things happen, but that's 10% of the time. Other times you're laying over in El Paso, and your trip gets broken up, and you're flying all night long, and you're exhausted.
Yeah.
So just being real about what the challenges are very, very early, and having conversations about that. Like, here's what it's going to look like. The scenario I gave you, like, imagine yourself, you're pregnant, we got a young kid at home, and I get called out to work I get called out to work at the worst
The
possible
worst part of
time.
the time. Yeah.
And now you're managing the house, and then the water starts leaking in the house, and I'm gone, and I'm
Wow.
not answering
Yeah.
my phone. That's what your life's going to look like from time to time. And it's almost like, almost take the approach of like, I'm trying to convince you not to marry me. Because if I can properly communicate all the challenges, and then you still want to marry me at the end, okay, let's
Let's talk about
proceed.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I certainly don't go to great lengths to over glorify what the lifestyle looks like, because the truth is, all the benefit, the spouse doesn't really get a lot of the benefit.
Yeah.
The spouse takes the brunt of the challenges of the job,
Huh.
because they're not there at the resort that 1 in 5 times or 1 in 10 times you're at the resort. They're not there getting to see the world from a whole new angle. And when
Yeah.
I take off and I'm working, I'm in work mode. When I'm flying, this is one of the things I love about flying, is as soon as I get to the airplane, nothing in my personal life matters anymore. I can't even think about it. I'm totally engrossed in what the job requires, which is a beautiful thing. And I have to be focused on the job.
Yeah.
Can't be worrying about what's going on at home, when you're a high consequence environment like that, and then you start making mistakes because you're worried about home life. You have to remove yourself from that, but the spouse will still take the brunt of that. So managing expectations very early is super important for success.
Yeah. And staying on the staying on the topic of relationships, what are you looking for generally when you're in the dating scene?
What I look for is uniquely tailored to my job, like the challenges that we've discussed. So obviously, as a Christian, that's the most important thing to me. I want somebody that I can build a ministry with. Is somebody that wants to have a family is very important to me. I believe that having kids,
Right.
aside from glorifying God and pursuing His kingdom, expanding His kingdom, it's the most important thing
Yeah.
you can do in the world is have children.
Yeah.
So somebody that wants children and desires to be a mother, to me, that's very valuable, because a lot of women want to work. And
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. You can work all day long. There's a lot of money to be made. There's a lot of statistics that show that women are actually exceeding men in a lot of industries when it comes to their
Yeah, especially
performance in the
college.
private
Mhm.
workforce.
Yeah.
If they want to do that, that's fine. But with my job, because I'm on the road, it doesn't work well. Like, you can't have 2 full-time jobs. So
Yeah.
I really do need somebody, and I desire somebody that feels a calling on their life, to be a homemaker, turn the house into a home, and raise kids, kind of pour their life into that, and support me in my endeavors as I'm supporting the family, and then it creates a supporting circle. I also think somebody that has an independent streak is important. Uh, I'm not talking masculine characteristics, but somebody who's capable,
Who's capable.
somebody who knows, okay, if somebody's breaking in at the house and Mason's gone, like, I need to know how to take care of this,
Right.
because I'm not there. So that's one of the unique dynamics is the wife of an airline pilot will have to take the role of the husband from time to time. There's an issue with Timmy at school. Timmy got a fight on the playground. Principal wants a meeting with the parents. Mason's in South America, can't be there,
Yeah.
right? So wife is going to have to assume that role in a lot of ways. So somebody who has some independent ability to do that and isn't super reliant on a reliable schedule is going to be important for me, just because of the dynamics that come with the job. And I'm also very, like I said, I'm nomadic. Like, I value
Yeah.
travel and experiences, not from a luxury standpoint, but from just expanding my worldview. I was
Exactly.
recently in China, in Beijing, hiking the Great Wall, and there was this couple there probably not much older than all of us. And they both had a young kid on a baby carrier strapped to their chest. And they were hiking the Great Wall of China. It's 110 degrees outside, and it's just brutal environments. And I looked at them, I was like, man, I have so much admiration for them.
Yeah.
Because they're getting out there and they're having life experiences, they're making memories, they're challenging their worldview. And the kids probably won't remember that, certainly when they're young. But if they're willing to do that kind of travel when the kids are young, they'll do it when the kids are 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and they can make memories at that time too. That's what I want for my kids. I want my kids to get out and see the world and have a better understanding of humanity and have a better understanding of the United States. I'm very proud to be an American.
Yeah.
In spite of all my travel, there's no place I'd rather live than here, despite the challenges that the country has. That I'm sure of. And I want my kids to be able to see the world and have a greater appreciation for the United States too. So somebody that perhaps we don't need to go to China, but somebody who would like to go to Europe and get to see a couple of things, that would be a good fit for me.
You mentioned kids. I'd like to get to your perspective. Like, you're away like for 5 days straight, and you're missing out on what your kids are doing in your life. So how do you stay connected with them as you're a pilot, and how do you be involved in their life? Because you're going to be away, so how do you make sure that they get the right values, get the right schooling, ensure that they don't become like homeless people on the street, so something like that?
It's a challenge. Yeah, if you're not there, you're not there.
Yeah.
And if you can do FaceTimes and call your kids and call your family, there's not much more you can do in terms of that when you're on the road. And you're working too. You know, you don't have time to answer calls and FaceTimes too. And sometimes you don't have a lot of rest. And you need the rest time to prepare for the next day. There's a moral obligation when you're flying airplanes. You need to be rested if you're going to step in the flight deck and control the airplane.
How many hours do you need to sleep per night?
We have to have 10 hours is the minimum between flights.
Okay.
But that doesn't include transport time, meal time. So that's 10 hours from the time you park the jet to the 10 hours to the time you would clear security. So sometimes you're staying in a hotel that might be, with traffic, over an hour drive each way. So that opportunity for sleep, you're going to need food. You might need dinner and eat breakfast in the morning. That opportunity for sleep can get diminished pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But most of our layovers are scheduled between probably 13, 17 hours. So there's a little buffer on each end. The benefit of the job that I see, and I recall back to those men that I was telling you about who I look at that are in my industry, I say, wow, they do things really, really well. And I know their kids, and their kids are very impressive individuals.
Yeah.
They speak to how the benefit is you can be more present when you are home. So instead of having a father who's working a 9 to 5 and maybe has to work Saturdays on occasion and has to leave early, and even when he's home, he's not really present because he's got a meeting the next day. When I'm home, I don't worry about work. There's nothing. There's no upcoming test. There's no project. There's no meeting. I set the parking brake on the airplane and walk off. I go, that was a great trip. I don't even remember where I flew yesterday. That was yesterday. And you don't think about work till the next time you get the call or the next time you have to show up at the airport. And that's a huge, huge blessing.
Yep.
When you're home, you can be 100% present. You may not make every birthday. You may not make every Christmas. All comes with seniority. With time, you will. But you have opportunity to be there for several days in a row. You can take kids and say, hey, let's go on a road trip. Let's go on a 4-day road trip.
Yeah.
Let's get you out of school early and let's go on a road trip. A lot of people homeschool, very, very common in the airline industry.
Oh, really? Okay.
And that way they can take their kids and train them and teach them on their own schedule.
Okay.
And go do something fun. So I think there's a lot of benefit to when you are there. You can be at home 5, 6, 7 days in a row.
Would you be able to do that, or would you do that?
Most certainly. I think I'd be interested in it. I was actually homeschooled myself for several years.
Oh, well.
I did everything under the sun. Public school, private school, homeschool. I was homeschooled from 6th grade through sophomore year of high school. My mother's a teacher by trade. So she was a teacher when I was born. And then my brother is 16 months younger than me. We're very close. And she taught all through that time. And then eventually it was too much. And she had a call on her life. She felt like she wanted to stay at home and invest in the kids. And my dad works full time. And they entered into probably a more traditional dynamic. But she always had a heart to homeschooling. So we went to public school and private school. When I reached 6th grade, my mother's like, I want to homeschool you guys again. I want to take a higher level of involvement in your education and spend more time with you. So we did homeschooling, and
Wow.
it's probably not when you envision. It's funny because when my mother told me that I was going to be homeschooled, I kicked and I screamed
Yeah.
and I said, "You're going to make me socially challenged."
You're not socially challenged. I can
Well,
tell that
Super
right
it's,
now.
talkative.
that's what I thought because the only people I knew that were homeschooled were like that. They were
Mhm.
weird.
Yeah,
They were weird. We all know
understand
it.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, man, you're gonna ruin me for life, Mom. I remember telling my mother that. But what we did was really cool. I did all my education at a co-op filled with other homeschool families, and the mothers would teach the classes, and they're actually
That's neat. Yeah.
really good, like
Hmm.
really knowledgeable. These mothers would teach anatomy and physiology or calculus
Wow.
for 20 years. And many of them, their
Impressive.
kids were all grown. They were grandparents, but they just loved teaching in the homeschool co-op environment. So I had peers around me. I had a place I could go to school, but not have to be stuck in school 7 hours a day, 5 days a week, learning things that didn't really matter. The things we were learning mattered, and they
Yeah.
were equipping. I felt it equipped me very well for the next step of life. So I'm not hard set on I have to do that for my kids, but I
Yeah.
would certainly enjoy looking into that as an option. And obviously, my spouse would have to be on
Yeah.
board with that too, because it'd
Mhm.
primarily fall on her.
Yeah.
That's the reality.
So
So,
you'd be looking for a spouse that is a teacher as well.
right,
Yeah.
that would be a good fit. A lot
Yeah.
of POSMary teachers and nurses
Teachers and nurses.
are very common matches.
Yeah.
I think just because with nurses, the schedule works well. You know, they can leave the industry for a time. They can work 2 days a week or 1 day a week, oftentimes, and they understand the on-call lifestyle.
Okay.
They understand, working long shifts. So there's a little bit of crossover there that creates a common level of understanding.
And where do you look for most days? Like, are you looking for them primarily in the church, or are you using dating apps, or are you just kind of like out and about in like a social scene?
Certainly no dating apps, I'll tell you that. Yeah, I'll never do a dating app. I
Me
would
neither.
rather be single
neither.
before I get
Yeah.
on a dating app. You'll never see me on one. I'm not interested in shopping for a life, and I'm not interested in selling myself either.
Yeah.
I'm content in not being married, which is a great place to
Mhm.
be. Life is purposeful for me. It's enjoyable. It's fun. And being a Christian, I have a calling above marriage. As much as I want that,
Yeah.
it's not the end game. There's a calling higher to that too. And being involved in my church and serving there, serving in the community, I'm like, okay, I have a calling outside of this. I'm already fulfilled outside of a marriage. And if I can be fulfilled outside of a marriage through the kingdom work that I'm doing, then you can take that into a marriage and be in a great spot. So the places I've always looked for a wife are church only, pretty much. Church or mutual friends.
Yeah.
Those would be the only two places. I would, not anymore at least, I don't approach women in the street just because the chances of them
Yeah.
being what I'm looking for is probably pretty narrow in some of these areas. The chances of that being successful are pretty low.
Yeah.
And I would rather commit to a process that has a higher level of
Yeah.
vetting, that there's going to be common values, than take a chance and commit time and money on something that probably won't work out.
Yeah. I just pray that for myself that God gives me a wife when I'm ready and that she has all the qualities that I've been thinking. Because right now, when I look for one and I go and talk to one, it just turns out bad. Like I get into a relationship and then I find out it's not working because it's me that's wanting to go out and find. And then now I'm realizing that maybe it's just let it go, let God take care of it. And if when I'm ready, if He wants me to have one, then I get into the relationship. I mean, Alex, he found his early, and I admire him for that. He got into a relationship about
2 years
2 years ago. Yeah, so I hope that I found one, and then I just want to see where it goes. Because right now I want to live for God first, like you said, and then if He thinks I'm ready for one, then that's when I'm gonna go.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for a woman who loves Christ and who will give herself to more than what I want to do. So she will give her life and want to have children as well. I mean, she just wants to give herself away, and then that's really what I want. That's the only quality that I would think of. I don't care what her job is. Hopefully, she wants to do something positive for the community. But right now, I just feel that giving your life to Christ is the first thing.
And where do you plan on, like, where do you think you'd be? Would it most likely be probably like church or your local college, right?
Yeah, I mean, college is hard. I mean, you won't find you have to look hard for the gems in college because you don't know what you're getting. But church is obviously the best place to communicate. Just right now, living life each day, enjoying it. And if I find someone that I meet in church, start up a conversation. Hey, my name's Luciano. How are you?
Yeah,
So that's
I
how
mean,
it's gonna go.
he's super involved in his church today. He was just telling me that he was doing volunteering for children that need food over the summer because they don't provide, schools don't provide lunch in the summer. And he was making sandwiches, and the guy that was running the program actually called out sick, and so Luciano had to run
Yeah,
the whole operation himself with like a group of 15 and manage
That's
them.
impressive.
it was stressful, but we got through. We got 75 meals out, 25 to one location, 50 to the other. Stayed there for lunch, and then yeah, helped out the kids. It was amazing.
That's awesome. I'm certainly not the expert in marriage, not being married. I don't even pretend to be anywhere close to that.
Yeah.
I remember all the time, if I had a dollar for every time somebody told me singleness is a blessing, I'd be a millionaire.
Yeah.
It's like the worst advice ever. If you happen to be single in the Christian world, singleness is a blessing. Well, would you rather be single or would you rather still be married? I'd rather be married.
Married, yeah.
So the best advice I've ever received is somebody once told me they don't know a lot of people who feel marriage is called to them that don't end up being married. And
Mhm.
the more I think about that, the more true that is. Most people, even if it's not on the timeline or in the location or place that they would have originally dreamt, if you feel that God is preparing you for marriage, almost always, not always, but most of the time, those people end up getting married.
Yeah.
And I like your attitude. I think you'll do well. I'm not worried about you.
I found some people that don't want to get married. I'm like, I asked them why, and then they're like, I don't know, I can't handle the responsibility, and I'm like, really, do you want to not live your life with another person? You might be lonely, right? And I've contemplated that as well. I was like, do I want to be lonely my whole life? And I'm like, no. I mean, for me at least, I find family a blessing. I'm an only child, right? And I get to speak to my parents every day. We're like, we know each other inside out. So it's just like the thing that you have to contemplate, like, where do you want to be in your life when you're 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s? Where do you want to be in? That's what I'm trying to contemplate right now. I mean, I love the relationship idea now in the 20s, like it'll be so fun, right? But back into the 30s and 40s, 50s, where we're going to be. And I'm still trying to figure that out. I mean, got a lot of time, and that's where I want to be. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very wise. I try to think of life. You can't predict what your whole life is going to look like.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But most things, when you set out a goal, you start with the desired end result. And I think life is the same way. Not to be morbid, but when I'm on my deathbed, what do I want? What's going to be important to me on that time? It's not how much money is in my 401k.
Yep.
It's not the nice car that's in the driveway that I can't even drive anymore because hopefully I'm so old I can't even drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be who's around me in my final days,
Yeah.
the people that are around me, and hopefully there's some good friends there. But what you really want, I think most people would want, even if they claim to not want kids now, is you want to be surrounded by your own offspring that know and love you and can look at you and say, "Wow, that he wasn't perfect, but that Lucci
Yeah.
guy, that Alex guy, that Mason guy, man, he did a good job, and I want to live my life like he did." So starting with the end goal, and then you can work backwards. You can't force marriage and timeline. Getting married is getting. You can always find somebody desperate enough to marry you.
Yeah.
Getting married is not a prize. Finding a virtuous wife is a prize.
Yeah.
If you're a
Amen.
woman, finding a sacrificial husband is a prize, and that's what the real challenge is. And you can't force it. But once you get there, I'm all for it. Go broke having
Yeah.
kids. You have one more kid than you can afford. It's easy
Yeah.
to say when you don't have it.
How many
but-
kids you
yeah.
want?
Well, I think probably at least 4.
Yeah,
I'm
same.
not
same.
the one giving birth. Easy. I know. It's easy to say, but I've never met anybody that has regretted having too many kids.
Yeah.
Never. I've
Never.
only met people that have regretted not having kids, or they've wished that they've had more kids. And it all comes back to the end. When you're in your later days of life, what do you want? Do you want the
Yeah.
convenience early of having one kid and saying, "Okay, we're done," or do you want to have the rest of your life committed to investing in your kids and your grandkids and God willing your great grandkids? How awesome would that be?
That would be really
That's
amazing.
super cool.
With a long term thinking mindset, I think having more kids than less, and go broke doing it if it requires it. I think that's an amazing plan.
Because you always find a way. I mean, I've always joked I want 9 kids, and I'd take all the 9 and put them around my mom. She'd take care of them. But jokes aside, it's always good to have more kids. I mean, there's another life in the world, and you can share the trials. I mean, you might go broke, like you said, and it's just gonna be a journey. Like you'll remember those days. I mean, my parents remember me when they were immigrants here and they moved from their countries, and they had me, and that was like the toughest time because they were managing their green card, getting their citizenship here, and then managing me because luckily I was a heavenly baby because they're like, you're the easiest baby ever, so that made it easier. But just having those children, I mean, you have to start early, I think, right? Because if you start early, then you can manage one, and then you can manage the other, and then you can spread it over time if you want to have a lot of kids.
I think it's probably, I'll tell you this. I don't want to be 50 with a bunch of young kids running around the house.
Yeah.
that much I know. And
Yeah.
I know guys like that. They're changing diapers for decades because they space them out. And yeah, I think having, the way I would like to do it in an ideal world is have more kids in rapid succession and get it done in preparation
done.
for the next phase of life. Because
Yeah.
then you're young and you're healthy enough. You can go out and you can have fun times with your adult children. Your body's still healthy enough. You can go skiing with them.
Yeah.
You don't want to
Mhm.
be, you can't ski because you're not healthy, and now your kids are healthy and grandkids, and you're sitting there on the sidelines. I don't think anybody wants that.
No.
There's have you guys ever been to the log cabin village in Fort Worth?
Have you?
No, I've not.
I have not.
Highly recommend. Really cool. A lot of people don't know about it. They have 12 log cabins that were built between 1750 and 1810, I want to say, all
Okay.
from different parts of the plains in Texas.
Is this from in downtown or like where?
It's out by the zoo, by the
The zoo.
botanical
Okay,
gardens.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, highly recommend. And what they do is they have historian actors that dress up in the attire of the time that go and sit in these tiny little cabins, which are basically the size of a garage, and they tell you what life would have been like back then. And the way they would do it is these people would have 12 kids. And there's some
Yeah.
birth control dynamic there. It's a little different than today, but there's some strategy to that too. At the time, one of the challenges is if you're a pioneer and it's just you and your bride, there's not enough labor force for you guys to survive.
Yeah.
You got to make your own candles. You're making your own food. You're doing your own woodworking, your own hunting. Everything is on you. The nearest shop is a half a day's horse ride away.
Yeah.
So the strategy is have a bunch of kids, and the hard part where you're vulnerable is when your couple kids are young.
Young.
They're 1, 3, and 5. You got to get through that, and then your 7-year-old can take care of the newborn.
Yeah.
Your
They'll get the
9-year-old can
roles.
make candles, and then next thing you know, you have 12 kids, and now you can survive because you've got a workforce. And it's really eye-opening because I have to think, man, their life conditions were so
Yeah.
horrible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were dying from disease, and the elements are
I
hard.
didn't think about that because also back then you didn't know which kids were gonna survive. It's not like today where most, if not all, survive. Like a lot, I'd say like 80% or probably higher in the United States at least survive. Early childhood. But back then you didn't know you get a random disease, you die, your child dies, you have to restart.
Totally.
Mhm.
And I have to think they probably weren't struggling with depression and anxiety like people are today. How many of those kids are waking up and going, oh man, like what are my friends? I don't have anything good to put on my Instagram today.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm going out and I'm making baskets. And they had purpose. Everybody had purpose. If there was one thing you weren't short of, it was purpose back then.
It's amazing.
So it was really interesting. Highly recommended. It's pretty eye-opening to
Was
go
it-
see that.
Was it free or did like
It's a couple bucks.
Okay.
Yeah,
Couple
but it's
bucks.
not expensive.
Okay, cool.
cool?
You mentioned Instagram, and I'd like to get your perspective on like social media and everything. Like, do you have accounts like social media, and how often do you use it? What do you use it for? Or even do you use it at all?
I use it very, very seldomly. I don't have an Instagram. I don't have a
What?
TikTok. I haven't for a long time. I had an Instagram pretty early on. I got rid of it probably when I was 12 or so.
Yeah.
Haven't had it since. I have a Twitter and X account, which I enjoy from time to time for more authentic, hopefully, news. And then I have a Facebook because I enjoy the groups.
Interesting.
And I like the, buy and swap groups.
Yeah.
I like at work we have an employee group, which is very resourceful. But if you find me on there, you'll see I've never posted anything ever. And that's my opinion. It's a beautiful thing, and perhaps because it was just a short period of my life where I was on social media and active. I really have never known a life of having a need to impress other people. And social media is certainly not the devil all the time. There's a lot of really valid uses for it, is particularly in a business case. That can be a very, very powerful tool. On a personal basis, has been highly damaging, in my opinion, for the young generation, particularly girls, because there's a strong pressure. Just by logging on, you see the best areas of somebody else's life, which is not even close to being representative of what they actually do in their life. You don't see the hard things. You only see the beach photos and
You
look
only
what
see
I'm
what they
doing.
want you to see. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And kids don't have the emotional intelligence to filter those things. They take it as reality. And then there's a tremendous pressure to feel like, oh, what am I doing? And then you end up developing what I call Instagram brain, where you live your real life looking through a lens of trying to digitalize it.
Yeah.
So you're living in a false world within the real world, trying to digitalize every experience, trying to manufacture things just so you can post it online for people that honestly don't care that much about what you're posting to begin with. So I just simply remove it altogether, and for me, life is better because of it.
You see the colors of the real world instead of the colors on the screen.
And that's exactly right.
But we got to get this buddy here to get off social media then. What would be your tips for Alex?
Well, you just got to delete them, and not just not just off your phone. Delete the account. Account's gone.
No, for me, I have a lot of connections to them, and like I said, just staying connected with people. So, and then like I said, you learn through X. I like to learn through like TikTok, Reels. Sometimes you get something funny, but a lot of times I do get a lot of news and what's going on. What are people caring about? Sometimes people are complaining about nothing, or just there's some random controversy that people can't get over, and I don't know, it's always stupidly funny to me because I'm like, I don't care, but it's funny, and that's what makes me laugh.
What is the other side of that coin? Those are the pros. What are the cons?
The cons for me is that like you can't stop. It's like there's always something new, and that's the joy of social media, is that there is always something new you're learning or just watching. So you're always, I feel like, being fed new information, right? And I don't know, I enjoy it. And
maybe you could just have it on a computer. Nothing on your phone. And
That's a good
just
solution.
have it on a computer that's in your house, not a laptop, maybe a desktop or something that stays in your house. That way you can stay informed, and you're in the business world, and you can do what you need to do on the business side and learn new techniques in editing and marketing. And then it's not on your phone when you're around town and driving in out of school, whatever the case is.
yeah, I do eventually plan on like hopefully deleting them or like stop using them for a good longs of times. I've even actually had to buy blue light glasses because I'm on screens so much that like I've been getting headaches, and so I don't.
That's another con.
Like they actually really do help. I have
Put
to
that
say,
in the con section.
they actually really do help. I have to say, like I was like, oh, this is probably like a scam. I'm just gonna be wearing glasses for fun, I guess. But they actually do work, and they've been helping a lot, especially with like working on stuff. Like especially when I would actually have to edit the videos for like I would get major headaches, and well, now we don't have to do that, but they're still very helpful. So
yeah, I'd say I'd use it like 2 hours per week just to check on like the sites on podcasts and then everything like that. But yeah, I just want to influence this guy here. Like, come on.
maybe one day. Like I like it for now. Like I said, I do randomly have a lot of downtime, and that's the main reason for keeping it. But like you will convince me eventually that I won't need it anymore. Like right, like the whole reason I have Snapchat, which isn't even like I wouldn't even call it a social media because it's literally just a texting app, is that I can see Avery's face every day or randomly throughout the day, and I don't know that like
That's a really convenient excuse.
yeah,
It's hard to argue with that.
It's nice to see your girlfriend just randomly throughout
For
the day. Like,
sure.
oh, there she is, and then
How about take a picture of her and then carry it with you?
Put it in your wallet like you did
Put it in
back
your
in
wallet.
the day.
I have one in my car that when I go, it's in my dash that I can see her. So
Well, there you go.
I know, like, I don't know. Like I said, it's not really like I even consider a social media because that's one of the apps I'm just not
Is it
really.
Snapchat?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just not an addictive app. There's nothing to it more than texting people.
Well,
I
maybe
know.
you keep that one and then get rid of the rest.
Well, that's the one I'm hoping to get rid of. Funny enough, because like, one thing is like growing up, it's like you don't. I don't know.
So you're gonna
Snapchat is
Snapchat your
originally is used
broadcaster
as
friends?
what?
You're gonna Snapchat your broadcaster friends?
No, I probably like Snapchat. The thing is like that I've started to learn, and like as you kind of mature and grow up, is that it's really meant for like teenagers, and obviously I'm not
Yeah.
in that stage of life anymore, so I don't really need it. And so that one probably pretty soon will be like on the chopping block. And after that, if I had to like delete one, funny enough, I added a social media. I added Facebook
Mm.
because my family I caved was like, you should get Facebook so you can like see what we're doing and stuff like that. And that's because most of my family, like my brothers and sisters, they're all older and they only have Facebook. And so being able to see what they post is actually nice. Like seeing my oldest sister and her kids and what they're
Okay.
up to and stuff like that. And that one I'm not addicted to actually because I'll check it like once a week or something like that.
Yeah.
So
We're gonna do a review episode on his
You should. Usage.
usage now, and then see how much he's improved or disproved.
if I could tell you, it's like 8 hours a day right now.
Holy smokes.
What
Is that work? That's
It-
almost worse.
That's work.
What do you think when you hear yourself say that out loud?
It
8 hours a day. So right, I go to work from what 7 to 2, and I come home. But I'm watching social media while I'm at work because there is random downtime, and then I have a 30-minute break, which I'm pretty much just scrolling because I have nothing to do for 30 whole minutes. I call Avery for like 5-10 minutes. I ask her, hey, how's your morning going? Blah blah.
course.
5-minute call ends. Then I have nothing to do for the next 25 minutes.
How many books did you read this month?
0.
Okay, there's your something to do.
Yeah, I have been wanting to get into reading. We actually, well, before we came up with this idea, was that we were gonna read books, and we've kind of
Yeah.
like put that on, just kind of threw it out the window. But we could, come back and bring it inside. But
oh my gosh.
I should start wanting to read more. And my main hobby is like playing video games, and I find it really fun, especially strategical ones where
Mhm.
like a lot of people think video games like you don't think at all and you just do nothing. But in the real sense, for people that play them, you think a lot because your strategy is winning, right? That's the whole point of a game, is to win. So it's a lot of thinking, and that's where I don't know, I have most of my fun and my hobbies go towards. So
When you go, so last thing I'll say, and we'll stop beating up on you. When you go to the end of life and you look back, what will be your opinion of all the time spent on video games and social media apps? Or you look back and say, that was really good time spent with this one life I had.
I would say it's just an interesting hobby because it's not a hobby I plan on like dropping. It's just something that when I have that free time of like purely just me and I want to have some enjoyment, that's what I go to. I don't want to spend money on going out to like bars or um I don't know, things that would cost a general amount of money when I could just sit at my house, have a little fun, and then go spend time with my family.
Yeah. Well, I'll be tuning into the update on the usage. That'll be a good video.
Yeah.
So on to the next part is more than like religion. So how would you say your relationship with God is right now?
Yeah, my relationship with God is when you're in your 20s, the hope is that every year you look back at yourself and you don't recognize the guy that you were a year ago. And that same thing's going to be with your relationship with God. Every step of the way, I've moved several times, and it's always been trusting in God in the next step. I find one of the hardest things in having a relationship with God is when life gets good, you find that you don't need Him as much. And
Right, yeah.
some people some of the hardest people to convert, for lack of a better term, are people that are very, very successful and have strong will and a lot of virtues. Like I look at President Trump's like one of those people,
Yeah.
and he may claim to be a Christian. I can't speak for his personal faith, but
Yeah.
I think there's an argument where there's some indicators he may not be going to church every Sunday.
Pretty busy guy.
Pretty busy guy, but he has fought through every single.
Yeah.
I mean, that he's been shot. He's to his testament, he has through his own willpower overcome every single obstacle that's come his way. And I'm not that at all, but I feel very blessed that for the time that I'm in right now, this year, life has been really, really good. So what I'm learning to do is to trust in God even when times are good, because I can feel it when I'm not prioritizing my time with God. Um, things start to uh, uh I start to rely on my own strength,
Right.
which is not where I want to be,
Yeah.
even if I know I can do something. Because sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can't. Um, Last year, and it was what I love about relationship with God is sometimes He will take something from you that is important to you, so that way you can see Him better. So
Yeah.
like last year, I was running a half marathon, my first half marathon, and I thought to myself, I didn't prepare well at all. And I thought to myself, how hard can it be? As long as I don't stop running, I'm going to cross the finish line. Like that's all there is to it, right? I'm just going to keep running. And I
Yeah.
knew I could do that. I'm just going to keep running no matter how hard, how difficult it gets. And 300 feet short of the finish line, I passed out
Oh no.
and ended up going to the ER because I was dehydrated, had to take some time off work for all
Wow.
the paperwork. And as I'm sitting there on the gurney, as they're strapping me up, I didn't know what had happened.
Yeah.
My memory came back later, but I'm sitting there on the gurney. I didn't know, did I get shot? Did I get hit by a car? What happened? And then all of a sudden, all your fears start going through your brain. Am I ever going to get married? Am I ever going to have kids? Am I ever
Right.
going to be able to work? Am I even going to live? And then as I go down the list in that moment, I was asking myself, does God still have me? Yes. Does God still have me? Yes. Does God still have me? Yes. Which is a great place to be. And what a blessing that was for me.
Yeah.
Because that morning when I
Mhm.
wake up and I'm worried about superficial things, I'm not asking, does God still have me? Yes. I'm thinking, how am I going to overcome this obstacle that I'm worrying about, which I
Wow.
shouldn't even be worrying about. And then when the stakes get high, God pulls the rug out from under you. So that way He takes something from us that's important, so that way we can see Him more clearly. I was so grateful for that experience. So for me in this next season, I'm trying to prepare myself for more challenges, whether it be marriage and kids. When life is good, it's easy to rely on your own strength. But that was a moment when I was on that gurney where it didn't matter how much strength I had. I was passing out.
Yeah.
My
Mhm.
my willpower exceeded what I was physically capable of. And that's what's next for me is, okay, I'm preparing for the next storm that comes my way. So that way, when hardship hits, and maybe it's my family incorporated too, it's one thing if it's just you. When you have family and kids and people rely on you and hardship strikes,
Yeah.
that can be really hard. So always want to be prepared that when the storm comes, the drought comes, I have a well of my relationship, my knowledge, my understanding of the Bible, my trust in God because I've seen Him provide for me in so many ways. I can draw on that well of spiritual water, which will get me through the next drought.
It's amazing.
Wow.
Like when you're in those tough times, you realize that the only person, the being that can help you is the one, the creator of above. And I love that. I I'll tell a story, just a little one. About 1 year ago, we went to Yellowstone and we went up all the way and then we're coming back, enjoying the trip. And the moment we get back, we get a call from the doctor that my dad had a diagnosis of pancreatic cancer. And through that time, we were in turmoil because we're like, is he going to be alive for the next year or so? And we realized we can't do anything at all. We have to pray to the Lord God for journey mercies and to help us throughout this life. He got the surgery. He was still alive today, but still, it was just relying on him that got us through that moment. And I just realized that in every moment that I've had that urge to sin or something that was taken away from me in my life, turning to him just made it all the more better. He takes the burden off of you. And I feel that if I go back like 10 years, like or even 5 years, let's say, the faith has gradually increased because he's shown me things that I've not seen before. And I love that saying, when you look back 1 year, you're never going to be the same person. So I'll take that from this and remember it for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God is the rock when you hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. People will tell you, they don't even hide it. People who have been through, they've looked death in the eye. People who have never prayed in their life, they'll say, when I get to that moment, I'm in that car crash and the car is rolling and the glass is breaking, the bumper's crunching, I just started praying. because I didn't know what else to do. And that's inside everybody. Like, God designed us to be spiritual creatures. We're not just animals. Like, we have a conscience, we have a soul. We're very different than monkeys. And when we exceed our capabilities, even if we didn't know that we would ever end up in a situation like that, it's totally natural to turn to God. And some people get saved. Many people get saved in that moment. And I don't think God wants us to go through pain. I don't think there's any joy in having pain. I don't think God gives us pain and trials and tribulations for no purpose. But I certainly think God will use circumstances like that, not only to create perseverance, but also to reveal himself when we may not have been looking.
Yeah.
And sometimes God can orchestrate things in life, like we see this in the Bible with Job.
The Job.
With Job, certainly we see this where there were trials and tribulations, and God wanted him to go through that, and he became stronger, and then he was rewarded at the end with lots of abundance. But what's important for us to know as Christians is sometimes our reward doesn't come in life. Sometimes there's not a happy ending in this world, but we know God has promised to us that our inheritance is in heaven, is a house, and there's a room for us in that house with our name on it just waiting for us. And that's the real prize, is being able to go to heaven and have uninterrupted, full access to God and God's glory in full capacity. That's not limited by our human restrictions.
Yeah. Do you know the story about Alex, how his faith turned out to be?
I may or may not. You have to refresh my memory.
He was an atheist when he was about from like, was that from when you were born?
About middle school to junior
year. He was an atheist and he turned his life to Christ, and it's just a gradual process of reflecting. So you want to tell your story?
So I'll try to keep it pretty simple and light. So early on, my parents are Christian, and I liked nothing wrong with what they were doing, but we didn't go to church. We weren't a church family, just didn't really go, never really read the Bible. Then I started going to middle school, people changed, and I felt like a lot of the people that would say they were quote unquote Christian, these other kids would do a lot of things that were like hypocritical. Or I remember this one girl, she tried to like cut my shirt because I wasn't like super religious and stuff, and I just was like totally pushed off. Like felt like I kind of ran away from all that because like these people are crazy. Like, why are you trying to cut my shirt, And so I didn't like, I kind of like, and through time and watching the news and stuff like that, I just felt like there was like a lot of hypocrites, and I was taking for a lot of what people that were saying they're quote unquote Christian were not being so Christian, And so I kind of just pushed away. I said, how can people act like this and still do this? It's kind of still like that. And over time, though, like right when COVID hits and stuff, so I'm a freshman, and I start to lose a lot of hope, and I don't feel like I have any purpose in life. And so I start to like want that, and I think of like, okay, well, where can I get hope? Where can I get purpose? And I try all these different things, and I get nothing back. Like, I don't feel anything. And so eventually I'm, on the tennis team. I meet this girl named Emma. Emma tells me I should go to this church. Well, it's Milestone. And the only reason, there's a thing called Elevate, it's for kids, and it's supposed to be like a service for children more. Yeah. It's more engaging, And I only go because there's going to be free Whataburger, funny enough, and I'm really hungry, and they're going to have free stuff. I'm like, oh, cool, I'll go for the free food.
But I know if you give him food, he'll come to any event. Like, he will eat a whole box of donuts. Straight up, if I gave him to him, he would eat anything.
What if you told him he had to leave his phone? Would he still be there?
I think he would. I think he would.
Okay.
He has a big appetite.
That's a good data point.
Yeah. Funny enough, I do not like to watch and eat stuff at the same time. I like to just eat. I want to enjoy the food.
That's good. We can agree on that. Yeah. Amen.
So anyways, the night ends. I thought it was weird, right? I'd never actually seen like this kind of worship before, but I didn't really understand it. But I thought the message was like good overall. I can't even remember what the message was about the first time I went. But anyways, I go on to the next week and the next week and the next week, and it's like 2, maybe even 3 months in, and I'm like, there's been a couple more times where they bring food and stuff like that. I think they were called Super Series, but again, I stopped coming for the food because that's why I kept coming originally. And I was like, well, Alex, why do you keep coming? You're like, why? Like, I asked myself this, and I was like, is it for the food? Is it because I actually feel a connection? Am I starting to understand this? Are the people like, I'm not feeling that church hurt or the Christians people's hurt? And so eventually I was like, I think I want to like try this and go all in. And so one night, it's in like November, I just raise my hand and like, hey, does anyone want to give their life to God? I raise my hand. I go up there and I get saved that night. And I think it was like Pastor Ryan and someone else. I can't remember. But
Oh,
it was just, I remember it being the best moment of my life, giving my life, honestly, and finding like purpose. Eventually, I really did find my purpose. It was like serving and volunteering and helping other people. And I really do. I haven't been to every serve day, but the church has a serve day. I love serve day. I've even got my family to get into it now, and they sometimes come to Milestone. And I mean, I feel like my life, I would pick my life being in Christ over my life not being in Christ any day, every day,
yeah.
over what it
Amen.
is.
That's amazing. Yeah, each of us have a testimony that I believe is uniquely suited to help somebody else that isn't saved. There's kind of a misnomer in the Christian world that the best testimonies are the life or death testimonies. Somebody was on drugs in the street and they're about to die
Yeah.
overdosing and then they got saved. But not every testimony has to be that grand. For me, I grew up in a Christian home and I was in Hawaii celebrating my mother's birthday, my grandfather's birthday, which happened to be Easter Sunday. And we were at
Wow.
a
Yeah.
service in Oahu down there on the water. And it was a great service. And we all packed up our stuff at the end.
Yeah.
And the pastor said, hey, if anybody wants to get baptized, go over to that tent over there. We're doing ocean baptisms.
Wow.
And in my family, we had lunch reservations for Easter. We're all walking back to the car. And grabbed my dad's shirt. It was 11. I said, God's calling me to get baptized. And I remember that
Yeah.
there's no life or death. There's no drama. There's no drugs. There's nothing going on. But in that moment, it was the first time in my life where I'd felt a call to do something that bypassed probably conventional wisdom. Like I felt like God was calling me. There's a
Yeah.
yearning there. It was the first time I'd felt the Holy Spirit talk to me, go get baptized. And it was hard for me as an 11-year-old. I remember the turmoil in my brain. Do I tell all my family, extended family, we're going to miss lunch on Easter? We're celebrating birthdays because I'm going
Yeah.
to go get baptized. But I recognized the call and the desire to go get baptized and be saved was much stronger than the fear of messing up my family's plans. So when we got baptized and was saved on that day there in Hawaii, and we each have a testimony, whether it's grand or whether it's simple, that will relate to somebody else. And there's no shame in having a testimony that isn't anything grand, because somebody out there is living a life very similar to you and me, and it could be our testimony and our life story that they say, wow, like that could have been me. I
Yeah.
could be you. I could have what you have. And accepting life as a Christ follower certainly doesn't mean that life is easier with more blessings as the world would think. In fact, it's almost the opposite. Like the Bible talk about managing expectations. The Bible's warning us we're going to be
Yeah.
persecuted. If we take this seriously
Mm-hmm.
and we identify ourselves and we evangelize as Christians, the world will hate us.
Yeah.
But the counter side to that is we are equipped with the Holy Spirit inside of us so we can have peace through those trials. And in
Love that.
fact, the
Yeah.
disciples called it pure joy when they when they were physically abused and beat because they were disciples of Jesus. They walked away from that saying, "Wow, I had joy in my heart." Nobody else in the world can say that. Nobody else can go through punishment for a worldly cause and say, I had so much joy
Joy. Yeah.
coming out of that. It's only us as Christians. So life may not be easier as the world would say it, but we are equipped for a greater cause and we have spiritual blessings and we're contributing that towards our inheritance, which is a life in heaven with God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a saying that the Christian should die poor because we leave this world with nothing, right? And we have so much, but we should give it to the world, and we should be the light for the world. So that's it's a hard thing to struggle with because we live in a society where we have the jobs that we want to go to, we have the careers, we value this, but then our faith is calling us to live greater than that and become the servant for humanity. And that's something I have to struggle with and think about, like, what do I want to do? How do I want to serve my God and still be in the position that I am? So, something to think about. I haven't got the answer yet, but still trying to think about it through conversations like this. And
Definitely. I don't think we'll ever, those are really good thought processes and thought exercises for us as Christians to go go down through, I don't think we'll ever get a clear answer on what to do in every time, which is why we have the Holy Spirit inside us. And that's why the Holy Spirit can intervene and we can talk to God and get discernment on unique situations. And I know the Bible talks more about money than anything else. I don't think God wants us to die poor just for the sake of not having money. I think God wants us to do well and prosper because he gives us tools in the Bible to do so. But it's all about intentions too.
Yeah.
If we're just building wealth so that way I can have more toys and I can have security, which you want security, you want retirement, but if that comes at the cost of putting your trust in your future, in your money, and not in God ultimately, then it's a loss at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, the most important thing is investing your life in things that outlive you. And money won't outlive you. And if that means you are blessed, because the money that we have is ultimately God's. That's what I view. If money will come naturally, if we steward ourselves in a way that takes care of God's money, he'll bless us with money. And that's not prosperity. That's not saying come to church and you're gonna be a millionaire. That's saying if you live in a biblical way and you're wise and you're helping people with problems in the world, most likely, not always, but most likely, you're probably going to develop wealth in some way because you're living in accordance with biblical principles. But regardless, the money that we receive is God's first. So when it comes to tithe is such an interesting hot point for people.
Yeah.
Because I know men that are very, very strong Christians, been Christians their whole lives. But when it comes to the tithe, that's one thing where, I don't know if I can trust God in that one. Or they'll find ways to finagle around it. I'm going to give based off of my after tax because the before tax, well, that was the government's money. It was never really mine to begin with. But if we view it as I'm returning to God what is his, instead of I'm giving God what's mine, then the tithe becomes a lot easier. And what took me time to figure out, I'm a huge believer in the tithe. The tithe is not really for God. Yes, it makes the church run and it pays the light bill, but the tithe is for us. And people who don't tithe, they're depriving themselves of an opportunity to lean into God and trust him. Because most of the time we make mistakes and we deviate from God, it comes from a fear of lack of provision. How am I going to provide for myself? How is God going to deliver this? I don't know what tomorrow holds. Okay, I better rely on my own strength. And I better figure this out on my own. But when we tithe and I say, God, I don't know what tomorrow holds, but you've trusted me with this and I'm returning it to you regardless of how much or how little money I have, it brings a sense of peace that I think is very valuable and is for us. And something that's interesting that I hear from a lot of people is they'll say, well, when I get more money, I'll tithe. And I know I'm not rich by any stretch of imagination, but my first job, I made $8 an hour. And the more money I made, the harder it gets. You know, the more surplus you have, the harder that check is to cut every month if you're not careful. If you don't have the view of I'm returning to God what he gave to me first instead of I'm giving God my money.
Wow. That's amazing. I love this discussion, and I think it's a good wrap-up point for this podcast. I mean, thank you for your time. I mean, this was amazing. I've learned so much. If I had to take out one thing from this is that you manage so much
At 26.
at 26, and you just manage it because God is with you. And I love that because you put your faith in God and let the rest take care. That's what I've taken out of this. I would ask you one last question. For yourself, about 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever age that you pick, what would you tell yourself back then?
What would I tell? That's such a good question. What would I tell myself? I would tell myself to worry less about the big things and focus more on the small things. So instead of worrying, I was somebody growing up, I was very concerned about what's my career going to look like, trying to plan every corner. And then as I look back, nothing worked out how I had planned. Count myself very blessed. But in a sense, it was a waste of energy and it was a waste of time for me to be worrying about things that I couldn't control ultimately, and I should have been giving to God. Where am I going to go to college? How am I going to get money here? What's job going to look like here? What's retirement look like? All these things. Instead, I would tell myself, focus on your relationships, walk away from every interaction you have with somebody, try to bless them in some
Yeah.
capacity, take something from them, learn something from them. When you're with people, be in the moment, enjoy that time with them. There's something to learn from everybody. Everybody has a positive characteristic, and somewhere in there, even the most difficult of personalities, and live in the moment and be a good steward of your day-to-day time that God has given you. That's what I would tell my younger self.
Well,
That's beautiful. That's
I
a
love
good
it.
wrapping point
Yeah.
right there.
I would, I love that saying because you try to enjoy every day of your life, and that's what we're called to do. I mean, I love this. Yeah.
Appreciate you, gentlemen. Thanks for having me on. It's
Thank
been
you
a
so
blast.
much.
It was great, man. I'm so glad we finally got to get you on.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is awesome. We'll have to do it again at some point.
Yes, for
Yes.
sure. If you want to come on,
No, it'd
just
be on
text us. Yeah.
anytime. Tomorrow.
So Alex, you want
Yeah. Well,
Up.
as for me, I was convicted about my social media, so I was thinking about it while you were talking. Maybe I should, as Mason said, start reading more books and getting off the phone. And I don't want to, like, in my eyes, completely get rid of it yet, but it is a future idea of possibly completely getting rid of it all and maybe putting it on the computer. But for everyone that is not getting rid of it, we have our TikTok, our Facebook, all our social medias, our Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. Check them out. Hit the subscribe button, like, and share it with somebody else. Lucci, do you have anything else for us?
No, thank you so much, Mason. This is the Sights On podcast with Luchiano and Alex. This is Sights On, signing off.